Alright, so today we're going to be talking about why SOLIDWORKS users should be caring about 3D experience. You may have heard the term 3D experience tossed around. We'll be taking a look at why SOLIDWORKS users, from the perspective of a SOLIDWORKS user, you should care. So a little bit about myself to begin with. I was born and raised in Hillsdale, Michigan, so South Central Michigan. I went to Grand Valley State University for my mechanical engineering degree. Throughout school, I got started in contract design with perception engineering, and that gave me a lot of variety when it came to design, whether it be sheet metal design, more of an industrial design. So I got a lot of experience with SolidWorks through that position. I started up with SWYFT Solutions in 2020 with a focus in the 3D experience side of solutions and a heavy usage of SolidWorks there as well. My time currently is spent primarily between Michigan or Colorado, and in my spare time, aside from spending time with SolidWorks, I like to get outside and hike and camp and ski, whether it be snow ski or water ski. I just like to do some outdoor activities. So why should SolidWorks users care about 3D experience? The short answer, you may not like it, but it depends on what you use SolidWorks for, really. There's a vast variety of use cases of SolidWorks, and each one of those has some different benefits when it comes to pairing that with a 3D experience platform. So today we'll start out with a user poll, then we'll dive into taking a little bit of a summary, taking a look at a summary of what is 3D experience, and then we'll take a look at some of the 3D experience tools in action, and then we'll wrap up with a summary and in time for any questions. So moving on, what is 3D experience? From a 30,000 foot view, it's a platform to combine the power of Dassault Systèmes' many brands. So they have many pre-existing brands, and they're taking all of these tools and putting their power together and allowing you to expand a lot more easily with the 3D Experience platform. Now, when I'm going through this, I'm saying platform, and that may be not the most clear term to use. Sometimes it's not very clear in the sense of what the 3D Experience platform is. You can think of platform as an operating system. So like Windows you have on your computer, you're running Word and PowerPoint and all the other applications off of Windows. The 3D Experience platform is essentially an operating system for Dassault Systèmes tools for these all to work together really well. So all of these brands include SOLIDWORKS and CATIA for design, Innovate for your data and lifecycle management tools, Simulia for your high-end simulation tools, Delmia for your manufacturing tools, and it goes beyond those into things such as 3D Xshape for your marketing tools, NetVibes for your data analytics. So there's a wide variety of tools, and that's what makes it such a vast solution. So chances are, for the people that have heard of 3D Experience, if you hear about it from two different people, you're hearing two different things. And that's why I want to take the time today to just break it down, take a look at the basics, and why you should care as a SOLIDWORKS user, because it is such a vast solution that it can be really hard to get a grasp of when you're hearing from all these different sources, these different things. So as an overview, it was actually launched originally in 2012. The brands that are under the 3D Experience platform, used by the 3D Experience platform, have history back to the early 1980s, such as CATIA. So it has some really strong foundational technology. It's just bringing those technologies together. Now, in 2019, 3D Experience Works was launched, and this is a segment of the portfolio for tailored for SOLIDWORKS users. So this is cloud-based. It provides a cloud-based solution for SOLIDWORKS users that gives them out-of-the-box PDM and PLM capabilities. And you can pair a lot of these other tools with those PDM and PLM capabilities to expand as needed. Now, when it comes to SOLIDWORKS options, like I just mentioned, if you ask somebody about the 3D Experience platform, two people might tell you different things. There's three different options when it comes to SOLIDWORKS and 3D Experience. So to clarify those, we have SOLIDWORKS, the route with SOLIDWORKS Desktop. This is installed locally. It's the same SOLIDWORKS you have if you were using SOLIDWORKS today, regular SOLIDWORKS Desktop. Same licensing. It's managed with a serial number. Now, the 3D Experience data management side of things is installed as an add-on into SOLIDWORKS, but you're still dealing with those SOLIDWORKS proprietary files, SLD, PRTs, ASM, and DRWs. Now, you may have heard of 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS, or otherwise known as SOLIDWORKS Connected. This is still installed locally. This is, instead of a serial number based licensing, it is a named user based licensing. So the 3D Experience platform manages the assignment of the SOLIDWORKS on a named user basis, so people can just sign in on whichever computer SOLIDWORKS is installed on. And then It does have the data management side of 3D Experience built into the installation, so it's not a separate installation of an add-on. It's just automatically included with the installation. But you're still dealing with the same proprietary files with SOLIDWORKS, SLD, PRTs, ASM, and DRWs. Now, a newer offering is what's known as SOLIDWORKS Cloud. This is actually entirely browser-based, so you're designing right from within Chrome, Firefox, Edge, whatever browser you may use. So there's no need for installation aside from the browser you're using. This is also managed in terms of licensing through the 3D Experience platform, so it's a named user basis, and it also has those data management tools available right within your browser as well. Now this, instead of using SOLIDWORKS proprietary files, this is using a different type of Dassault Systems proprietary files known as 3D XMLs and SLD XMLs. So if you're working with other users using SOLIDWORKS, you would have to use one of the first two options, but if you're working, this can still export out to steps and neutral file formats. So it gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to working in your browser there. Just SOLIDWORKS branded tools. It's not necessarily SOLIDWORKS in the browser itself. Now that we've had a look at what 3D Experience is, let's go ahead and take a live look at the tools in action. So we'll start out, let's take a look at how 3D Experience can help you manage your data. So this is SOLIDWORKS, and this is actually SOLIDWORKS Connected, or 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS. So you can see that the interface is going to be very similar to what you're used to with SOLIDWORKS Desktop. You're going to be able to pick up with the same tools and pick up modeling right where you left off. The biggest difference is this 3D Experience add-in pane here, where you handle your data management. And of course, the name is SOLIDWORKS Connected, just to let you know that it's a connected version, straight connected to the 3D Experience platform with this data management add-in. So those are really the two biggest differences. And this data management is very powerful to get you up and running, especially if you don't have data management already. But even if you do have some data management solution today, there are some benefits to this approach of a cloud-based data management solution that's connected to a lot of different tools that help you expand and get up and running easily. So here we can see this data management tool, and we have all sorts of information in here. You can see that the product structure is based off of the product structure in SOLIDWORKS here, and we can click on things here to cross-highlight them both in the graphics view as well as the feature tree in SOLIDWORKS. And we have all sorts of information here, including the status, whether the latest version is saved up to the cloud storage. We have reservation status, so you're able to lock it and unlock it as you're working on it to keep other users from saving over your file. And that also provides some nice benefits of multiple users being able to have the same assembly open and choosing specific components, and really increases the chances for collaboration there. We have the ability to keep track of different revisions, and all past revisions are kept within the system, so you have that history of product development. And we also have some maturity abilities to go through a life cycle states of having things in work while people are working on them, frozen while they're under review, and released when they're off manufacturing or released to a client, so that you don't accidentally make any changes to data that's already been released. So in our case, we'll want to actually add a component to this saw. One thing you can do is right from with this add-in pane, you can access folders of all of your data, and with all of this, you can just click and drag these parts right into SOLIDWORKS session, or right click and open them right from here as if it's Windows File Explorer. But in our case, the saw blade is not in here, so we can actually go ahead and search for the blade itself. Now this is going to search the entire platform, regardless if it's 3D data. We can filter it down to just 3D data if we want. In our case, I know that this is the blade that I want, so I can actually just go ahead and click and drag this into my session here. So that opened up the saw blade right into my SOLIDWORKS assembly. And if I actually jump back to the My Session, which shows the status here, we can see that we need to actually save this now because there's been a change made to it. So it gives me a notification that there's been a change made and it needs to be saved. However, I'm just going to go ahead and place this saw blade into place before getting too far into things here. So the saw blade has now been located, and let's say that that's the change we wanted to make to this assembly. We now know that this has to be saved. So we could go ahead and search for any other components that need to be added. And the nice thing about this platform-based search is that it's not just searching a certain folder, it's searching the entire platform storage, everything that you have stored on there. And you can filter out by property, so you can have manufacturers, job numbers, everything in there. So you can filter out and get some really advanced search capabilities. So if you're trying to find something, traditionally if you're trying to find something and somebody who knows where it is not available, and you have to go filtering through Windows file directories, it could take a really long time to search through all of those. This gives you the ability to just search and find what you need right then and there. So also, like you saw, you can organize it into folder structures. But in our case, this is the change we wanted to make. So we're going to go ahead and save it. Now, one thing to note with this component here is it's in a released state. So in the sense of the platform, it's actually not going to let you save something to a release state. That prevents you from making any changes to something that's already been released to manufacturers, your client, whatever it may be. When it comes to changing maturity states, you can actually do that right within the platform itself. So we have the ability to just move things along, and you can give certain people certain permissions. And you can see that, so for example, if it's in work, other people that have access to edit rights can then lock it. It changes to the component, save that component up. If it's moved to a frozen state, a leader type, an engineering lead type role can then go in, review it. Nobody's going to accidentally make any changes to it while it's under review. They can either send it back to in work or release it. And then once it's released, it's locked to that state. It's been released. It's officially released. Any further changes will need a new revision. So in our case, if we're going to go ahead and save this, it will actually request us to, first of all, we won't be able to save it if it's not locked. And if we try to lock it, it'll just give us a notification that it's not in a good maturity state because it's released. We can't lock something that's released because we can't make any changes to it. So once it pulls up the save window here, it will actually give us the ability to dive into this assembly a little bit further. And we can see a warning here. If we stretch this out, we can see modified but not locked. Stretch out a little bit further. Changes will not be propagated. However, I cannot lock it because it's not in a good maturity state. But like I mentioned, right within the save dialog, you can go ahead and choose to create a new revision from this window here. So upon save, it will take the changes, it will create Rev B, and then it will place those changes into Rev B and pull that into the current session. So there's a vast number of, you can get into approval routes and change management and all sorts of things here. But just right within the 3D experience area, you're able to get into some basic data management, regardless if you're a one-person, two-person team, or an entire organization. It's great to have these tools under your belt. So let's jump back onto the presentation. So to review, we can manage our data with 3D Experience, and it's going to help SOLIDWORKS users manage their data. It's going to increase your productivity and reduce mistakes. And that can be done by reducing time spent in non-value activities. So you're not going to waste any time searching for data that somebody knows they're not available. You're not going to waste that time anymore. And you're going to have more efficient processes overall just because of the nature of lifecycle management. You're also going to be implementing a single source of truth. So you're all working off that one common database. You're not sending copies of a file off in an email, depending on somebody to make those changes, merging those changes back in. You're all working off that same one single source of truth to reduce any chances of miscommunication. And this also allows you to scale easier than ever before. You can start adding people to your database and give them instant controlled access so that they can jump in and have access to all the data they need to get started with the project. You're also working from a system that knows CAD. It knows beyond just SOLIDWORKS. You can actually work with that same type of data management connector with other CAD systems. So you can bring in, especially useful if an organization has multiple different departments that use different CAD systems, you can all work off this common data management system, and you can even build multi-CAD assemblies, allowing you to keep all of the individual components related back to their original software. Now, you're also going to lose a lot of those broken file references issues that you deal with a traditional network drive or file system, because traditionally, if somebody gets started and they don't know SOLIDWORKS very well, they come in and copy and paste a file from an assembly, a component from an assembly to a different location without knowing and updating the references. Then the next person that opens that assembly is going to be very upset when they can't find where that file is, and it just completely blew up their assembly. So this will keep track of all references as you're moving parts around, copying them. Everything like that will be kept track of because it speaks SOLIDWORKS. And it also has strong metadata capabilities. Like I mentioned, you can filter these out in searches, so you can hook up your properties to your SOLIDWORKS properties to the database, so you can keep track of all of this information right from the platform as well. And lastly, it is a cloud-based solution, so it's making things easier than ever to get started. You have a greatly reduced IT overhead. Traditionally, with data management systems, you have to get the server infrastructure set up, in addition to maintaining that as you go along, and then getting the data management system installed and deployed to everyone. This is a cloud-based solution, so people are able to get up and running just by having their browser. They can install the data management add-in, or if it's SOLIDWORKS connected, it's already included in SOLIDWORKS. And then we have, in terms of deployment, you don't have to worry about admin images or anything. It's installed directly from the browser, so the user goes to launch the add-in. It will recognize on your computer if it's not there and ask you to install it. If it's not, if it is, it'll launch it for you. And then you also have some flexibility in purchasing. This is a subscription-based model, but that does give you some flexibility in terms of getting things like a quarter of this data management or a quarter of SOLIDWORKS to come in for interns, rather than having to purchase a new seat of SOLIDWORKS that you may not use all the time. So now let's go ahead and take a look at how 3DEXPERIENCE can increase your collaboration as a SOLIDWORKS user. So this is the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. This is right within your browser. I do have it in full screen right now, so you can have it look just like an application now. So with this is actually the admin dashboard on the platform. I just wanted to start here really quick, give you a quick view. Instead of using your SOLIDWORKS admin portal, essentially this is where you would go. So you're able to see all of the users that currently have access to your platform, and you're able to see all of the roles or licenses that you have available. You would likely have a little bit less. I have a lot listed here as I have access to demonstrate all of these. But instead of giving somebody a serial number, you're able to actually just go in and jump into their information. And then you can see everything that's assigned to them. You can unassign it if you'd like, and then you can jump into things that aren't assigned to them that you have available to assign to them, and it's just a matter of hitting a checkbox. So no more serial numbers. You don't have to worry about a serial number being tied up to a computer that's not available. Somebody forgot to deactivate it. That's all gone now, because it's all just assigned to that user. You're able to have it installed for anything that needs an installation, like SOLIDWORKS Connected. You're able to have that installed on any device. Otherwise, if it's any of the other applications, those are browser-based, so you can just jump on whatever it be, your phone, tablet, computer, jump on and pick up right where you left off. So that's really eases up the admin side of things. Now this here is a dashboard list, and you can set up these different dashboards for different projects, so on and so forth. And here we have one that I set up for this SAW project, and you can see I have this essentially this Windows file structure, folder structure here, and you can see all of the data here right within this, and you can actually view this data right within your browser. So we can see that this SAW now has a Rev B1 from that update that we just made, and if we zoom in here, we can see that SAW blade has now been added. So that can bring people in that don't have SOLIDWORKS, because you can give this type of access to non-SOLIDWORKS users and give them access to viewing the latest saves of all of that data and really bring them in a collaboration sense. You can even go a little bit further. And like I said, you can have metadata, so you can view all of the properties associated with SOLIDWORKS properties right from here. You can jump in and dive in a little bit further even and take a look at the exact product structure. And that is the first revision. I'm actually going to go ahead and drag this Rev B that we just made into here and take a look at that. So this is loading that SAW that the new revision of that SAW we just made, and it's actually going to load it in a 3D view as well. So you have both the product structure and the 3D view, and this gives you the ability to go ahead and drop down that product structure and see just as it's built in SOLIDWORKS. And if you don't know, if you're not somebody that closely worked on that assembly as it was being generated, you can actually click on something and see it highlighted in the other view, and that gives a lot of accessibility to people that weren't involved in the design project, whether it be SOLIDWORKS users or non-SOLIDWORKS users, and gives them the ability to dive into that product structure and get a little bit more insight about the structure behind that build. So there's a lot more aspects of collaboration that you can get into, including issue tracking and issue management. You can get into change management. You can get into markups right on the platform with the live data. So there's extensive collaboration capabilities, whether it's an engineer, a simulation analyst, manufacturer, project manager, project planner. There's all sorts of different types of applications that you can add on as well for these different types of roles. So jumping back to the summary here. So to summarize increasing your collaboration, we have a number of points here. Number one, we're going to centralize that collaboration in a single location for all teams. So you can have communities where you have all of your project updates, questions, and get rid of those disconnected email chains, because it's very easy to either forget to hit reply all or not know to include someone in a communication. They miss out, then the project gets set back by a number of days just because of that miscommunication. You're also able to integrate multiple tools, whether it be your design tools, data management tools, your simulation tools, manufacturing tools. You can even bring sales and marketing and beyond into this, like I was mentioning. So it really brings the ability to connect all of your teams on a single platform. And then, like I mentioned, you can go beyond into things like issue management and engineering change and capabilities that maybe a smaller organization with just one or two users might not utilize those, but those tools are ready when you need them, and then they're there for larger organizations that are ready to go ahead and start with those. Now you can also work seamlessly with other 3DEXPERIENCE users. So there's a number of use cases where you can do this, such as suppliers, contractors, or partners, where, for example, you have a supplier, you can connect on each other's platforms using each other's, you have your own license, you bring your license to their platform or they bring their license to yours, and then you can connect them directly to your database with controlled access. So you can always keep up to date with a supplier's latest library. You can invite a contractor to your platform and give them controlled access to data to work on, and then remove their access once the project is complete. You can have partners such as manufacturing partners, so they can always have access to the latest release data and just pull it directly from your database to go ahead and make parts. So there's a lot of benefits when it comes to connecting different users that already have 3DEXPERIENCE to the live databases. And then lastly, the main thing that I focused there in that little workflow was increasing the visibility for non-CAD users. This could, I mean, it's a benefit to be able to view that data for the CAD users too, because it's so mobile. It's on your browser, you're able to access that anywhere. But especially for non-CAD users, whether it be a project manager or just some other stakeholder in a project, they're able to get that 3D viewing of that live latest saved CAD data. So they're able to just go ahead and, instead of sending you an email with 10 questions, they're able to just go ahead and look at the data and answer a lot of those questions themselves. You're able to track issues with the issue tracking. So this gives you, actually each issue has its own life cycle. So you're able to keep track of anything that's not resolved before something's released. And then you can even expand into things like BOM management. So you're able to actually manage the BOM of an assembly without even needing SOLIDWORKS. So that can bring in non-CAD users and give them different types of access depending on what they need to do. So now let's take a look at a third little workflow on how we can expand our capabilities beyond SOLIDWORKS with the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. Now you may have noticed as I was spinning this assembly around, this handle here has a mesh kind of appearance over it. And that's because it's not actually a SOLIDWORKS component. It was actually designed in what's an app known as Xshape, and that's part of the 3D Sculptor role on 3DEXPERIENCE. Now, in terms of editing this component, not too happy with how flat this side looks. I wish it was a little bit rounder, so we're going to go ahead and edit that and pull that update into the assembly. So in the sense of the platform, it's actually a modeling app that's available right within your browser. It's entirely cloud-based, so we're able to carry out this design whether we're on a tablet, phone, computer, most preferably tablet or computer. If you're really good, you can get on your phone. But here we have the component itself. So if we go ahead and just jump into the subdivision surface itself, we'll see that it's actually just composed of a set of nodes and then the lines between them. And as a default, all of this is C2 surface continuity, so you have really nice surface geometry, and then you can crease any edges that you want a nice hard edge. Now, how Xshape works is it's actually just kind of like pushing and pulling virtual clay. So we're able to get some wild, wacky shapes really quickly, and that takes place of SOLIDWORKS surfacing in a way that you don't have to learn all of these more advanced, really, parametric surface modeling techniques. You're able to just jump in and start pushing and pulling around. And there are certain surface controls. You can align surfaces with other surfaces, and you can get a pretty good degree of precision with this. You're not going to have an exact parametric line, but in terms of industrial design, this will fit a lot of your needs, and you're going to be able to get quite a high level of precision as you adapt to this tool. So in the sense of this update, it's a pretty simple update. We're able to just grab this edge here and pull that out a little bit so it turns into a nice rounded edge. And that will give us a handle with the look that we're going for with this update. So in the sense of that, we can go ahead and save it, and what that will do is it will rebuild the whole component and save the updates that we made. Now, if we jump to the SOLIDWORKS interface, we can see that this is a component within SOLIDWORKS. Even though it's not a SOLIDWORKS component, it is in the SOLIDWORKS interface. So if we just go ahead and refresh this information here, which is the information, the status of everything, and that information is generally refreshed when you open components or do any type of action. It's just been sitting here since we last were in it, so it hasn't actually shown any of that change yet. But if I jump in here, scroll down, I'm actually able to find a status symbol here. A more recent version of this file exists in 3DEXPERIENCE, and that is associated with this handle here. So if I just go ahead and right click and reload from server, what that's actually going to do is it's going to search the cloud storage and pull that latest version right into this assembly for us. And that will make sure that you can always pull in the latest updates, even if it wasn't done on your device. So we can see now that it will update the status of everything in here and say that it needs to be saved because a new version has been entered into it. But we can see that that nice rounded edge is now available in this SOLIDWORKS interface. So that you're able to take these browser-based apps and you are able to work with them. And we could add SOLIDWORKS features downstream. So we could shell this out, add ribs, holes, cutouts, whatever it need be. So one workflow that you can do is create these base shapes in those browser-based apps, especially things like Xshape give you power that SOLIDWORKS does not have, and you're able to bring those into SOLIDWORKS and have a joint workflow there where you're used to using your SOLIDWORKS design tools for anything like parametric modeling, but you can always add and expand your capabilities with the 3DEXPERIENCE-based tools. So let's jump on back to our summary here. All right, to summarize, you can expand your capabilities with the 3DEXPERIENCE beyond SOLIDWORKS. So we have different domains, and one of those I mentioned earlier is the Simulia domain for simulation. This is highly advanced simulation. It's actually using the Abacus solver, so you're able to take advantage of some really widely industry-known solver and very powerful as well. So this will take you past SOLIDWORKS simulation capabilities. It'll give you the capabilities of advanced nonlinear explicit dynamic, really good for impact and drop tests and things like that. We're also able to do large deformation and large strain. So you can see in that bottom video there that that's got a lot of context going on, and it's going through a lot of deformation, which leads us into that next point, contact condition. The Abacus solver has a general contact condition that you can use to, you don't have to define individual contact sets anymore. It will actually automatically detect where things are going to come in contact with each other and account for that automatically. Then you can go into advanced material calibration if you have your own material library, and even get into fluids, plastics, and electromagnetics and beyond. There's a whole bunch of different simulation options in the Simulia domain. Now when it comes to the Dalmia domain, you can get into some advanced manufacturing. You get into complex 5-axis milling. You have high-speed machining capabilities, and it has a tight integration with your 3D models. So you can start generating those tool paths early. If you find any collisions or anything that the engineers need to update the part, you can send that back to the engineers and designers, have them update that part, and then pull that updated part in and update your tool paths accordingly, rather than having to start from scratch on an entirely new part. So there's some great benefits of having everything tied to that same data management system. The same goes for the simulation side of things. You can set up a simulation. If you see something from the simulation that results in updates being needed, you can have the designers update that, or if you're the designer, you can update it yourself and then pull those updates into your simulation rather than having to start from scratch. And then lastly, we have the Innovate project and data management. So it's going to give you, as we've seen, out-of-the-box cloud-based data management capabilities, but you can also connect it to various CAD softwares. So for example, in that top video there, we have it actually connected to Altium, and we can have our ECAD generated in a different software brought in with our mechanical CAD, and you can have all sorts of different combinations of different CAD softwares on this platform. You also have some project management capabilities built off of Innovia tools. You can manage engineering change with ECOs, ECRs, and beyond. Then you can even get into managing your product structure in BOM without SOLIDWORKS needed. So you can jump right in, create entire product structures without the need of SOLIDWORKS, and then SOLIDWORKS designers can go in and kind of mate the components, place them, and just fine tune things from there. And it goes much beyond the Smoolia, Delmia, and Anovia. There's a wide range of tools on 3DEXPERIENCE. I don't want to get too in the nitty gritty of all of the different capabilities because we're here to focus on how it can benefit you as SOLIDWORKS users. But ultimately, what you have to know is you have that data management and you're going to have the tools you need when you need them. So now that we've wrapped up with the live looks, let's just go ahead and wrap up with a summary of everything we've talked about today. So starting off, 3DEXPERIENCE is a collaborative environment. It's combining the power of all of Dassault Systèmes' existing brands. So it's not an entirely new tool. It's just a platform combining tools that have already been around for years and years. It was actually originally launched back in 2012, but the tools that are under the platform itself, like I said, like such as CATIA, that's dated as far back as 1981. So a lot of history there, a lot of development. So you're going to get powerful tools. It's just combining the power. Now, 3DEXPERIENCE Works is a portfolio. It's a subset of these tools that is tailored for SOLIDWORKS users, and it's cloud-based, and it gives you out-of-the-box data management and lifecycle management capabilities, and it gives you the ability to expand into other areas as well on the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. To review which solution is right for you as a SOLIDWORKS user, the route to go with SOLIDWORKS Desktop as with the data management as an add-in is if you need flexible administration, because this allows you to install multiple different version years. The SOLIDWORKS Connected the updates are driven by the platform, so you are always on the latest version. And SOLIDWORKS Desktop also gives you the ability to output these SOLIDWORKS proprietary files, SLD, PRTs, ASM, and DRWs. Now, jumping all the way to the other side, if SOLIDWORKS Cloud is right for you if you need extremely ease of admin. You don't have to worry about updates, installs, other than having a web browser already installed. It gives you data management built right into that as well. So the admin is easier than ever before. It's just assigned to your username, you log in, you have all the tools you need wherever you are. It also provides you increased flexibility on any device as well. So not only wherever you are, whatever you're on, you're able to just jump on, as long as it has a web browser, of course, pick up right where you left off. Now, a nice middle ground is the 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS offer, which has SOLIDWORKS Connected. And that gives you some ease of admin because it is named user. So you're able to install it on all these different devices. Just log in. You don't have to worry about activating and deactivating a serial number anymore. And it does provide you with those proprietary SOLIDWORKS files such as SLD, PRTs, ASMs, and DRWs. So you are able to work with SOLIDWORKS desktop users if they're working off the platform, or you can send them your files if they're not on the platform. You also, like I said, with the flexibility and ease of admin, you do have named user licensing. And then in addition to how the SOLIDWORKS desktop works with the data management, the 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS offer also includes additional browser-based tools such as that 3D Sculptor tool you saw. Those are included, so you can include those in your workflow as well. So just to review and recap all of these points, the main reasons SOLIDWORKS users should care about 3DEXPERIENCE is number one, you're going to be helped out with managing your data. And number two, you're going to be able to increase your collaboration abilities. And lastly, you're going to be able to expand your capabilities, whether you need it now or later. It's going to be ready when you need it. So a nice thing about getting started now is you're up and running, you have all of your data there, and you're ready to go when you need the next capability. You just go ahead and add that to your platform, and up and away you go. So, any questions?